So I know the Euros are done, and they have been for a few weeks, but I decided with my typical punctuality to review this tournament and give out my opinions about it. Let me know what you think, even if it's something like, oh, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Say it to me, but tell me why. One of the things I love the most is constructive criticism. Anyway, enough small talk, let's get into it. First, we'll have a chat about the winners. So obviously Spain won the tournament and they won it dominating. I think I read somewhere that they're the only team to get the title by winning every match. Not an easy feat, especially in these win or go home games. I mean, after the first match, they looked pretty convincing to me. Just a small side note, I watched most of the matches, not all mind you, but most of them. One of the games I had to skip was actually the final, because I was on a plane going home. I only got to watch the last few minutes at the airport, so I'm not basing myself off pure results, I can back it up, I think. The second game was one of their best, even if the scoreline flatters their opponents. 1-0 to Italy in a game totally one-sided. 20 shots to 4, an own goal by Calafiori proving to be the difference. To be fair, the 20 shots flatter the opponents as well. They could well have been 30 to 40. Italy was no match and got completely outplayed on every front. The third game really held no expectations. They were already qualified, just a formality, and they got it done, beating Albania 1-0. One of the few teams to come out of their group undefeated. In the round of 16, they beat a very surprising Georgian team 4-1, sending them home. I'll gloss over this match for now just because I'll talk a bit more about this later. Spain-Germany was an extremely entertaining game. The hosts managed to save themselves with a late goal by Wirtz. But other than that, there was plenty of action end to end, what we as fans love to see. Merino scored in extra time to seal the deal. But this, for me, was one of the games of the tournament. Fun to watch, none of this defensive masterclass nonsense. Both teams going into it wanting to play it out. Overall 10 out of 10 game. The semi-finals between Spain and France was pretty straightforward, even if France did give themselves a slight chance of scoring early. But a worldie from Lamine Yamal and a sombrero volley from Dani Olmo was enough to close the game out and send Le Bleu home. Honestly, a game of two halves. The first 45 minutes were fun to watch, and I thought it was setting us up for a 4-3 type game. One with a lot of goals. Turned out to not be the case, with all 3 goals scored in the first 40 minutes. In the final, it looked like England could get something done, but Spain's young talent really pushed them through this. Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal both putting in a performance way above their ages. I did think if England could get this extra time, they might have an opportunity, but Oyarzabal ended any chance of that. The impression I got is that Spain had a very clean tournament, nothing really being able to stir them up. Maybe the game against Germany was the only one where there was a bit of doubt lingering, just because the Germans were having such a good run and you never know what happens after the 90th minute. Overall, a very good job done by De La Fuente, with the team featuring a good mix of youngsters and experience. Fabian Ruiz looked to have turned back the years. I saw a skill of his during one game where he sent 3 defenders to the bar with 2 touches. The only player who I think underperformed in relation to their expectations is Morata. I saw him more often than not play out wide, probably to not give any reference points to the opponent's defense, but I was expecting a much bigger showing from him, even more as team captain. But he did put in a great shift as tracking back and things like that goes. So to be fair, maybe that is exactly what De La Fuente asked him to do, sacrifice his numbers and play a bit more for the team. Overall, top tournament from them, deserved winner, nothing to say. Next, I would like to focus on the biggest overachievers. I think there could be a few names in here. Turkey had a great run, coming out as one of the dark horses, finishing second in their group, beating Austria before falling against the Dutch. The Austrians are another team I'd go for, topping a group with France and Netherlands, but not winning against Turkey compromised them. But there is one team that I like to put down as the surprise of this tournament, and that is Georgia. Going into the final match day with 1 point, a foot already out of the door, just to beat the Portugal of Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes and Rafael Leao and force their way through as third best. I'm sure a lot of you didn't give them a chance at the start of the tournament. I certainly didn't expect them to reach the knockouts, but they did manage with a bit of luck. But what is football if not sprinkled in with a bit of good fortune? They then came up against eventual champion Spain. The way they started the game was great, scoring the first goal, but the Spanish ran rings around them. Still, top job from Georgia, and it put a lot of Georgian players on the radar of big clubs. Their goal scorer Mikhail Tadz and their goalkeeper Mamardashvili. I'm excited to see what happens with the pool of players they have. If we're going to see more players from their lineups comprising rosters of big teams. Now, for my biggest underachievers. Again, we have a few options. The easy choice would be Italy, but I already did a whole video on them. Croatia, who are in the same group as them, pretty underwhelming as well. But for me, and this is a hot take, the real team, and I remember thinking this during the tournament, is France. For the amount of talent they have, they can play a really bland style of football. A 1-0 win against Austria, which is acceptable given how they played the rest of the tournament. A draw against the Netherlands, which I'll give it to them. They were a bit unlucky because they outplayed them, but were incapable of scoring a goal. But in match day 3, a draw against a frankly poor Polish team meant that they didn't make it out of the group undefeated, scoring 2 goals and drawing twice. They struggled to score an open play in a narrow 1-0 win against Belgium, who were long past their peak. A win on penalties against Portugal, which they sort of scrapped by narrowly, because penalties can always go either way, before seeing their chances end against Spain. This could be said for a lot of teams, but France really did not show up. I'm not saying they didn't try, but it just wasn't there. They weren't playing against high-profile opponents. They struggled against teams that were weaker than them on paper. Luckily, football's played with your legs, not with paper. Never showing that dominance they led us to expect. For this tournament, France showed nothing, which is unfortunate because with the team they have, one would expect more. They didn't show any sparks for the whole tournament. Maybe only against Spain, scoring that early goal. But other than that, nothing. I was expecting at least a final appearance, but after the first 3 games, I thought them lucky to make it out of the round of 16. But anyway, let's move on to happier topics. Player of the tournament. Mine is Spanish, he's decently young, and is linked with a big transfer move. Can y'all guess who it is? It's Lamine. No, I'm kidding. My player of the tournament is Dani Olmo, finding the net 3 times and assisting twice. A heavy goal to win it against the French, which again I will say was a class goal. The Spanish goals in that game were just fantastic. He scored one to give them the lead against Germany and served the assist to win it. He was on the score sheet to close the game out against Georgia, but he didn't really feature in the group stages except in the 3rd game. It's crazy he put up these numbers almost entirely in the knockouts. He played 5 of the 7 games as an attacking midfielder, which is where he was really given the space to shine. For the first 2 games he came on as a substitute against Croatia and sat out the game against Italy. His performance at the tournament put him on the radar for several clubs, including Barcelona. Also, he's just entering his prime as he is 26 at the moment. So I respect a lot of clubs trying to get his signature. Let's not forget, this guy's talent is nothing new. He scored a hat-trick against Bayern to win the Super Cup for Leipzig. Injuries hindered his performances, but he still put in 8 goals and 5 assists in 25 appearances. If one thing is going to stop him, it's going to be his ability to stay fit. He had to interrupt his season 3 times to treat various injuries. But despite that, De La Fuente still decided to call him and give him a chance. A decision he well and fully repaid, bringing the European Championship back to Spain. For our 5th category, I'm torn in my options. Best youngster of the tournament. Now, while this may seem a straightforward choice, there is one player whom I'm giving the benefit of the doubt for. The 2 youngsters in question are Lamine Yamal and Riccardo Calafiori. I know what you're thinking. Italy went out in the round of 16 showing very few bits of brilliance, but allow me to state my case. The game against Switzerland was the only game Calafiori didn't play. He was unlucky with a deflection against Spain, but he cooked up a brilliant bit of individual magic to serve the assist to win the game with the last kick against Croatia. He also put in a great shift against Albania, contributing to winning the match. But then again, we are talking about Lamine Yamal, 4 assists and 1 goal. That goal coming to draw the game against France, serving an assist against Germany and one in the final against England. Linking up with Nico Williams time and time again. I think he overshadowed him a bit during this tourney, but Nico still had a great Euros, 2 goals and 1 assist. I just think Lamine really alongside Olmo carried them in most games. They did the heavy lifting and attack, trusting their teammates for defense. So my pick for star youngster has to go to Yamal. This guy is pulling out performance like this at 16. Can't imagine what he would do once he grows a bit. To be fair, a lot of players had the same expectations as him, and only a few have lived up to them. Everyone remembers the Messis, Bellingham and Haalands, but forget the Ansu Fatis, Patos and Kirkic's. But he seemed to have a good head on his shoulder and has a good backing. Also, he's already getting heavy minutes in one of the biggest clubs in the world. You could say that it's not the best, but Barca is still Barca. So, excited to see what will come from Yamal in the future. Now, the one final category before closing out this video is biggest upset. I have an unexpected shout, and that is Netherlands 2, Austria 3. I'll put that as my game over Switzerland and Italy. I wasn't very hopeful for that match. At the beginning of the Euros, I put the Netherlands down as one of the teams to win it all. They ended up passing the group as third best, falling short in the semi-finals. This game was all to play for. Austria and Netherlands qualifications both weren't guaranteed yet, but fortunately with France drawing with Poland, it gave a chance for them to top the group. Netherlands and France were level on points. If results didn't go in their favor, they could have well been looking down the slope of elimination. Passing as third is always a bit scary. You don't have the guarantee immediately that you qualify, you still have to wait for other games to finish. Austria pulled out a mighty performance to win it late. The one good thing this did to the Dutch is that it gave them a more favourable draw as they were playing Romania instead of Belgium or Turkey. I won't go into whether this was intentional or not, just cause no, it wasn't. I like to think everyone plays their games to win. That's what makes the sport beautiful for me. But yeah, this game, it was an unexpectedly good game. I thought Netherlands were gonna have an easy run. They didn't. Austria put in a really good fight. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to say, aired out. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment on what your thoughts were about the Euros campaign of various teams, or of your team if you prefer. Also, leave me some suggestions for future videos. I'm currently working on a few different ones, but the more the merrier. So yeah, Mitzala signing out. Thanks for watching everyone.